Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Troubleshooters Podcast, Episode 3. I'm really excited about today because we're going to discuss growth hacking. It's a very fascinating subject, and we have an equally fascinating person joining us today. So, our guest for today is Gaurav, who is based out of Trivandrum in Kerala. Gaurav has a bachelor's in engineering from Mar Baselios in Trivandrum and an MBA in marketing from IMT in Ghaziabad. Previously, he used to work in MSME sales for ICICI Bank and approximately a year ago moved to Codeofduty Innovations, where he currently works as a marketing strategy manager. And one of his areas of work is growth marketing, or as many call it, growth hacking. Gaurav is a public speaker, an ardent football fan, and also writes a lot. Now, I met Gaurav when he invited me to speak at one of the COD talks. It was a wonderful session for students and early stage entrepreneurs, and I immediately felt that he would be an excellent guest on this podcast. So, Gaurav, first of all, what exactly is growth hacking? Now, can you simplify this for us?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Anjali. So, first of all, thank you for having me in today. It's an honor to come and speak to you in this podcast, and I hope I can at least help a few people by speaking on this topic. So, actually, I've been preparing for this a lot. So, I think I can answer this question quite well. So, what is growth hacking? So, I want to compare growth hacking with our traditional marketing. So, growth marketing and traditional marketing. So traditional marketing actually just focused on driving revenue or like driving people into your website. So if you have a website or if you have a product, traditional marketing was just a marketing guy coming in and making sure your website or your product gets enough people in it. So that was just the traditional guy's work. But right now, people are focusing more and more on growth marketing. So what exactly is growth marketing? Growth marketing, I would say, is a series of steps that we do to ensure that it's not just that people are coming in and buying your product, but they are getting retained and they bring in more people. So that's very simply put, that's growth marketing. It's not just bringing in people in, but we're making sure, a marketing guy is making sure that these customers who come in are retained and they bring in more people too. So it's retention, referral, and awareness. So bringing in, like creating a certain awareness, making sure people come in, they get retained, they bring in more people. So these are a series of steps that we do to make sure this happens. And there is this article I read that growth hacking is making sure that the lines between product and marketing is slowly dissolving. So what we are doing is so for people to get retained, so for you to retain your customers, you should make sure that your product is actually good, right? So no matter how great our marketing techniques are or how great our tools that we use to market are, if you don't have a product that works really well for your customers, if you don't have a product that gets good feedback from customers and you shape it to a customer's need, that product won't work. So it's making sure that this marketing guy in your team and the product guy in your team, the finance guy in your team, the whole company is coming together and making sure you retain a customer. So that is how that is in very simple words what is growth marketing. So yeah, Anjali, I think you're on
Sorry,
mute.
I was on mute too. Just bouncing off on that. Now, a decade ago, we didn't have this, or the term. Maybe there were people doing it, but there wasn't a term like this or the practice. Now, what do you think changed in the business environment? Is it the startups? Is it the unicorns? What actually brought this as such a key factor now?
Right. So I think it can be two or three factors. One, as you rightly pointed out, is startups and unicorns. So the essential basic of growth marketing is that you don't use a lot of money. You don't. It's for companies who don't have that much money to pump in. Like if you take Coca-Cola or like companies like Flipkart or Amazon, growth hacking is mostly used by startups who don't have that much money to pump in. So that can be one factor. Second factor, I guess, is one of the growth of technology. So initially, I don't think, like, even if you have stages, if you put stages in for retention, I don't think there were much softwares or tools that could help you measure all these things. So measure feedbacks or measure retention. I don't think there were tools, and technology was not advanced enough to measure all these. But right now, if you say a stage like retention, there are about 100 or 200 tools that can help you measure all these things. And yesterday I was going through a lot of blogs, and each blog actually suggested 2 different tools that could help me do that. So I think that can be one more factor. And third, I guess, is that people are trying to be innovative right now. So it's not just about, and customers are more wary also. You can't just buy off customers like that. People are more educated. People are aware of marketing. One of the most important factors here is that your customers are aware that you are doing marketing. They are that you're trying to bring them in. So people are getting smart. So I think marketers should be more smart, like much more smarter to bring people in. I guess these three combined together, I think, brought about the coin the term growth marketing, and I think that's how we reached here.
Just again, just bouncing off something you said, the customers know that they're being marketed to. I remember I read a book, Seth Godin. I really love his books, and he was talking about how if your customers give you permission to market to them, then they tend to be lifelong customers for you because they've seen value in it, and I can see how that plays in well. Now, just coming to focus on health, every company wants to grow and scale. And in healthcare, it usually equates to how many lives we impact. So, how can health and social care startups use growth hacking to their advantage? Because healthcare is a tricky one. It's not like other products and services. When you're marketing healthcare, sensitive. So, how can health and social care companies do this?
Sure. So actually in growth marketing, there are a few steps. There is this whole idea called Pirates framework. So in marketing, there's something that I've usually found very confusing, because anything you say in marketing, there'll be like 60 frameworks by 60 from 60 different companies, most of them which don't make sense. But this one, actually, I found it quite useful. But let's not take Pirates framework as such. Let's simplify it for people to hear. As you told me, a lot of people who would be hearing this podcast won't be aware of such like big like business terms. And let's simplify it. Let's bring it down to 3 or 4 stages. One is awareness. So awareness, I think, is critical to a startup who's working in healthcare and social and healthcare, because these startups are dealing with topics that are crucial or are very important to these people. So one is awareness. So before you start growth marketing or before you start bringing customers in, something that you need to do is make them aware of what is the problem you're trying to solve. So it's not aware. Something that I usually tell my team is awareness is not when you go and explain to your customers what your product's features are. That is one of the blunders that any marketing guy would make. Awareness is where you tell them this is the problem that we are trying to solve. Okay, just tell them that that we are trying to solve it. This is the problem. Hey guys, this is the problem. And what they can do is they can put out blogs, they can put out posts, forums of discussions, or you can bring in experts and discuss on these matters, and then you try and invite people into it. So for example, let me say that I'm working for a startup who's focused on care for Alzheimer's patients. A product can really help Alzheimer's patients make their lives easier. So what I can do is to make people aware that these are the problems that a patient might face. So for that, you bring in your potential customers to a forum where experts come in and discuss that these are the problems that they may face. You send them newsletters, you bring out blog posts, you make them generally aware that there's a problem like this. So if you straight away push your product in, the problem is that people will ask why, because not everyone would be aware of the problem. Right. So the first part is making them educated about what the problem is. That is called as awareness. So if your first step of awareness is done, the second part, I think, will probably be very simple. It's called acquisition. It's where you bring in people. So these people who are there, you can bring in these people. So how I do generally, we don't work in a healthcare startup, but I guess this step is common for everyone. So you bring in people through emails, or you bring in people through Facebook marketing. There are a lot of things. So Facebook ads, Google ads, these might be expensive. So for a company who's starting up, let's make sure you get a good email platform like SurveyMonkey or HubSpot. You create a good email campaign where it's informative enough. You tell them that, no, this is not my product. You're not just giving out your product. You tell them this is the problem. This is the product that can help your problem. Can we meet? Something like that. That's a stage where you bring people to your company. You tell them that we are doing something to solve this problem. One can be email marketing. Second can be putting up a good website. So a website is really important for traffic, is what I believe.
Yeah.
So for a healthcare company or for a social company, your website should be full of topics that matter to these people who are coming in and trading. Something that I've seen is most companies push features. Again, marketing or like growth marketing shouldn't be about pushing your features in. It should be about creating an awareness. So having a good website where people can come in, and then driving traffic through these websites, through blog posts which link to your website, through LinkedIn posts which can bring your website, or like how we did last time, having a general discussion and then like telling them that like for further topic related to this or for further readings, you can visit our website, and things like that can generally drive people in. So once you drive your initial set, so people ask me like, we can't keep doing like this forever, right? No, but once you get to a lot of people, once you get to 100 and 200 people, chances are that people will slowly start like remembering you. Your articles might be featured, people will, word of mouth, people talk a lot. So word of mouth comes and happens, and then you'll start generating slowly, you'll start generating traffic. So second stage is acquisition. Third stage is activation and retention. Activation stage is where they get surprised. Oh, wow, this product is good. So for people who have been bought in, who have been acquired in, they'll see that this product is great, and then they'll click, okay, let me sign up with, say, this startup. That is called activation. And retention. Retention is really important for any startup, especially for a medical or that's healthcare startup or a social startup. In sense, you have to. So I've seen a lot of companies, once they acquire a customer, they just forget about them. That's not how we should really work. So we have to make sure that they are happy with what we have brought. The service should be good. We need to be behind them. We need to help them and take feedbacks. Yeah. A lot of companies take feedbacks, revolve your product around feedbacks, convert your product through these feedbacks, and then it helps your customer. It helps to retain your customers. So this is generally what we can do. And finally, referral is where your customers will bring in a lot of other customers. So this is something that we don't even need to concentrate on. So if our product and our service that we do is really good, customers will come back through referrals. So this is something in general that any healthcare or marketing team of any healthcare or social startups can do. But something that really touched, or like something that I am trying to do, is building a community. I think this is something that really underrated right now, but it's gaining more and more importance. For any startup, it's important to maintain a community of people. So especially for healthcare, I think it's very important that we maintain a group of people. So when I went through your website, for example, I saw that you have a newsletter where you ask people to come in, you send them weekly newsletters, updates. That is generally building community. So after some time, any startup should focus on having a database of people, a community that they have. Send them newsletters, send them data, send them articles that not just general articles, but articles concerns about your product. Send them updates. Make sure they're well informed, and make sure once they have this problem that comes in, once they understand, the first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, they have been sending me things. Let's go back to them. Yeah. So I work in SaaS, service, software as a service, and my company is a dialer, basically. So it's as boring as it can get. But I have created a very unofficial community, and I have got people who came back to me after reading my blogs. They are like, we had this problem and then realized that you have been sending me materials. So why not come to you first? So imagine a boring dialer can bring in people through community. What can a healthcare or a social startup can do? So build your community, get people in. Don't just push out your products initially. Give them service. Let's make it free initially, and then increase your value one by one, so that at one stage, whenever you want them to pay, they'll be willing to pay. So I think if I come to Anjali and tell Anjali that, yeah, right, we have this, come, let's start paying, Anjali probably won't be paying at first, but then make your product like freemium at first if you can, give it to your customers, let them get acquainted with your product, make sure that they'll use your product well, and at one stage when you go to a revenue model, when you ask them to pay, they'll be like, sure, why can't I?
In
That's
fact, I'll
something.
just bounce off that because I completely vouch for the community aspect because for about 2 years or so, we used to have a WhatsApp group and we had 200, 300 mums on it in my startup. And it was a very strong community. And that, of course, did translate for us into our other services as well. So completely vouch for that. And I have to admit, regarding the website, we did that mistake the first time around as well. It being a product-based website for the startup, and of course now we're changing with time, but I think that was a whole traditional way of making a website. You put it, your pricing, your products. It used to be like that. So of course now the change is on its way, but community definitely. And in my website, the one you were talking about, my personal website, the newsletter is very interesting because what I've seen is, now I've been doing this for about 3 months now, and there are people now who's actually replied to my newsletters sometime, because in my newsletters I ask them to do an activity or put forward a question, something that's happening around the world, and I have 3 or 4 people now who just actually press reply and send me back an email, and I see that as something really interesting. So brilliant points, and I really like that you split it in such ways that it's actionable. Anyone listening to this can actually be like, okay, I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can do it in step by step. So thank you so much for putting it that way. Now,
And one
yeah,
more thing,
go
and
on.
when you mentioned that 3 people after something, so this is something that most people don't get. There are no immediate results in marketing.
Hmm.
So even at companies, they have like, do this campaign next week, what happens? Marketing in general in life, things take its time, right? So as you rightly mentioned, yesterday I got a message from one of my clients in LinkedIn. I
Hmm.
approached him around 3 months ago. I've been constantly updating, I've been sending him mail. Yesterday he called me and saying, Gaurav, your email sounds interesting,
Hmm.
what are we talking? So it took me 3 months.
Yeah.
So if I'm in some generic company that measures my performance in 1 or 2 days, or like if I'm a CEO who like sees short term, I'll be probably thrown out of the company.
Yeah.
But it takes time. Everything takes time, especially if you are really doing this awareness thing. It will take time. But I guarantee you, like, let's think long term. Let's
Yes,
create an awareness long term, and in long term, it will get results.
I
And
agree
another
with
two,
you.
yeah, second point was, you mentioned about this website. So something that people will do is like put in a lot of jargons and things upfront. So something I really loved, what you told me before this talk was, a lot of people watching this podcast may not be aware of technique, like MBA jargons. So
Yes.
this is something everyone should understand. A
Hmm.
lot of people reading a website, a lot of people reading a blog, a lot of people reading a LinkedIn post won't be aware of what these things you're talking about. So make it very simple. I've seen a lot of MBA guys put in words because I think they've probably paid for 15 to 50 lakhs. So let me put in MBA words wherever I can. No, you should, I think, look at it from your customer and make it as simple as possible. That's something that we do even at my company that we're working. We make sure everything is really simple. I think that's one key point that people, growth marketers, should actually learn.
I think that's true for all professions because I used to be guilty of that previously because I work in health, right? And health is very clinically termed very often. But when I got into teaching, that completely changed because I'm teaching students who are almost blank slates when it comes to the topics they are coming to learn. So, the language had to shift, and I think now I'm slightly getting better at it. But I think anyone who is very focused on one particular profession has that problem with language, and it's a conscious effort you need to do to make sure
Right.
that it translates well, and sometimes the translation doesn't happen well. It's not literal, so you can't you need to be very sensitive in terms of health at least. So thank you for pointing that out, and going back to like the the student bases and that population. So, and there's actually my last question to you as well. So, for students and fresh graduates listening, because most of my subscribers are my students and other graduates,
Correct.
how can they build a career in growth marketing? Because it is a big thing now and it's definitely growing. Um, Rather than, some of them are doing MBA in marketing, some of them are just doing a generic MBA, but they have a health background. So they're in a bit of best of two places. But if they want to look into growth marketing, do you have
Right.
suggestions on things they can read, or what do they do next?
Right. So something, I think reading in general, I don't need to comment on it because you have a lot of materials outside. I think it's better. So if they want to start from reading things, I guess it's better to move to YouTube videos. I guess because I've been trying to read a lot about growth marketing too, and a lot of articles online are
Too long?
like they're like too much. They'll put in frameworks that people don't understand. I think a lot of YouTube videos, I guess, was really great. And try doing a lot of courses. So LinkedIn, there are a lot of courses in LinkedIn which are absolutely free and really great. They put in framework, but they make sure people understand frameworks. So LinkedIn courses can be one way of doing it, and or like Udemy or like Coursera or something, courses like that. So let's make sure you learn from a trusted source. That is number one. But more than learning, I would suggest them to do mini projects somewhere. So from my perspective, I know a lot of startups which are looking for marketing interns who are willing, like startups who are willing to experiment a lot. So growth marketing is about a lot of small experimentations. So it's a lot of small projects, twerks that you do. Sometimes you'll change this in a website and see. Sometimes you'll change the image, imaging in website, or it's about changing a perspective in your Facebook ads. So it's about a lot of small experimentations that we can conduct. So I think it's something that they can even do. So something I would suggest for anyone who's listening in this, let's start something on your own. For imagine you have an area of expertise, so you like to share. So for me personally, I like to coach a lot of people about public speaking. So someone like that can start a newsletter for public speaking. They can start a group somewhere for public speaking. For example, in Facebook or LinkedIn, a small group. Try getting people into that group. No one will just jump in and go to a Facebook group because you invited them, right? So try getting people into that group, and then you will understand that it is difficult. You will have to start doing something. So then you will create a newsletter where you will explain what you are, what do you do, how many people you have helped, where you speak, and things like that. So that, I guess, can be a good way of starting growth marketing. So growth marketing is not just about bringing 1,000 customers to a startup. It can be even about bringing 10 people to your Toastmaster club, or for example your IEEE club or your personal club. So start somewhere like that. Then you'll understand that's how I started. My growth marketing journey started in first year or second year of my BTech, where I want people to join in my IEEE club in my college. So I had to message my club in such a way that juniors would come in and join. So that is a start of a growth marketing career as such. There's no frameworks involved there, but that's how you learn to bring people in. So start simple like that. Try bringing people in, and you can even mention this in interviews. I used to tell this in a lot of my interviews that I personally brought in 120 or 130 people into my IEEE society, which was a huge number for them.
It's a huge number.
Yeah, they can even quote that. IEEE, I think people have to pay around 1,200 or 1,300. So if I can convince 125 people to join a club by paying 1,200, I'm telling the startup that basically I can do that. I can do growth marketing for you.
It's
That's how
I like that you mentioned something that you did during studying, because I think a lot of students forget that a lot of experience can be gained by doing small things like this while they are in university, and they don't have to get out of university to then start getting experience. So I'm really happy you mentioned that part of it. And in terms of, I think I keep telling my entrepreneurship students this, that, just because you invited someone doesn't mean that they are going to subscribe or they're going to like your page, or they're going to, even if they like, they may then never look back. And I tell them, I said, I have a huge network. When I did my website and I published it, I sent it to all family networks. I sent it to all my friends, the general WhatsApp group forwards that, oh, I've started a website. Almost 60% of them I never heard back from. I had sort of expected, because it's not everyone's area of interest. But you need to remember that. And sometimes students who are very new to this forget. They'll be like, oh, I'll just message my family, everyone will subscribe, and I'll get. It doesn't happen that way. So I'm glad you mentioned that as well. Gaurav, anything to close? Would you like to say something before we close for today?
Yeah. This is something that's very general. Marketing or growth marketing is not that complex. Anything is marketing not that complex. This is something I really wanted to tell a lot of people around, because once you start reading, if you're doing MBA or once you start reading stuff, things can seem a little complex, but it's generally about making sure you like understand the person at the other end. You understand their difficulties. It's making sure you put up the right thing so that they come in. That is generally marketing. That's very simply put, that's marketing. You have a lot of tools and frameworks that can help you do this. But in general, a good marketer or a good growth marketer is someone who understands what is going on. You have to understand what your company stands for. You have to understand the problem or the pain you are going to solve. You have to understand the person at the other end, who he is, what sort of a person he would be, what is his pain, and things like that. If you understand all these three things, you have a lot of simple tools that can help you. And I assure you that you will be a good market guy. I won't be a great person to vouch, but I'm slowly learning and I'm slowly like growing in my career here. So I'm not someone very studious. I don't know half of the frameworks that Philip Kotler's textbook would have, but I know I very well know how to deal with people. I know how to talk to people. I know how to bring people into things. That's the only skill you need in marketing. Marketing is really simple, and I hope anyone who listens to this podcast and who's interested in growth marketing tries to bring in at least 10 people to their chess club or your cricket club or things like that. That's how you gently start. That's it from my end.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. And that was a really quick 30 minutes. I've definitely learned a lot, and I'm sure others did as well. So, once again, thank you so much for coming on today. And I look forward to engaging with you and with COD Talks as well. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Bye bye.
Thank you for inviting me. Bye.
Bye.